Well, I think one of the problems, or one of the common features of being an industrial designer around this part of the world in the 60s and probably elsewhere, was always being called in too late. We've made this, we don't like it, what can you do about it? Choose the paint. The necessity is, of course, to get in at the beginning when the concept is being talked about, because the important bit is to establish what problem you're trying to solve here. The important thing is not a refrigerator, a method of keeping food cool. And I used to insist in all of my jobs that the client writes to me as to what they think they want. Now that isn't to be taken just the way it is. That's to be debated and argued about and discussed. And out of that comes the brief for the job. Now the brief, again, is not a prison that you work within, but is the starting point for what one hopes would be a creative adventure. There shouldn't really be a tension between aesthetics and function and ergonomics. I don't think there is. That's the difference between styling and design. Styling is when you're imposing something on something without reference to it. Whereas design, it actually arises out of an understanding of the function, just as Charles Rennie Mackintosh designed that art school. He designed it from a good brief by Newbery, who understood what he wanted as director, but also what was needed. He understood what was needed. So a good brief, and it's essential that that happens. Now, there are cases where styling is perfectly valid. I don't argue against that. But there ought to be some reason for most of it. And I can give, even in the paintings I'm trying to do, the photographs that were never taken, I can point to you and say why I'm choosing to do a particular thing. So it can't just be what comes up your hump, as it were. I have it's a kind of bogus theory really, but that the opportunity for a designer to design something separately from the consideration of the function is a function of the amount of power that is being put through the object. Now, where a large amount of power is being put through a small amount of material, or a relatively small amount of material, you have no great opportunities to design it in a purely whimsical aesthetic manner. Jet engine, vast amount of power, very small amount of material. Ladies' dress, you can design it any way you want, because mechanical power doesn't come into it. Another sort of power almost certainly does. So, if you like, there's a relationship, in my view, between function in that sense of what the thing does and the amount of power that's going through a piece of machinery and the ability of the designer to design it irrespective of its function. So, I think there is a relationship in that way. Whether in the aviation industry things are designed to very complex mathematical formulas, although some great aerodynamicists have said that they do much of it intuitively. Richard Whitcomb, the late Richard Whitcomb of NASA. And you do feel about things. You can feel about aerodynamics, and you can then reduce it to the complexities of the Navier-Stokes equations and whatnot. And they are beautiful things in their own right. It is another view of mine that a country that is not good at mathematics collectively has had it, because much of the modern world stems from an understanding of it. And I find that with some of my students, that the foreign students have no problems. They just accept it, they know that, and they come to you with it. Now, I've come to it late in life, but I think that's the case.